All right. Hey, how's everybody doing? It is glorious Friday evening, and I want to welcome you into Way of the Dad Live, Stripe Stream number two. Um, I would have liked to have this to be Stripe Stream number five, would be nice. But I was traveling out of the country, tried to do a couple of the YouTube shorts. I'm not sure how much I like those videos. Um, it's really hard to say something with any real amount of depth or insight in 1 minute. It's literally made for hot takes. And I guess I kind of had a hot take last time I did one because some people didn't like it very much, but I was pretty unhappy with the Bengals after the Dallas game. Um, so, you know, I was pretty disappointed, reasonably so. So, I might do some shorts at some point again. I'm trying to experiment with what works and like how I want to do it. But I do know I like doing this part. So, gonna give just a little bit as we get going here. And let's see here. Get a little bit of Heaven Hill bourbon. Not the best bourbon I've ever had, but also not the most expensive bourbon I've ever had. So, you know, it's got its redeeming properties. So, cheers. Not bad. Not bad. All right. So, I think I'll just go ahead and start diving into this. Um, so, a little bit of channel housekeeping, if that's what you want to call it. Hopefully tomorrow, I'll be going where I should say I'll be going up to the hardware store and filling up the truck with some stuff because I'm about tired of the echo in this place. And Amazon Air loves to fly over about every 10 to 15 minutes. And that gets old too. So, gonna do some insulation and get at least a step or two closer to um, a real background. Not this green screen, which I don't dislike the green screen. It's definitely served its purpose. My goal long term was never to have a green screen behind me, at least not for forever. Might revisit it at times. I do like some of the um, revolving background that I use. I use like a kind of static image video background, like you see right now with various pictures I have for the Bengals or for maybe a movie I'm reviewing or whatever. But hoping to get a little closer to it. It's also going to help because it's definitely not getting warmer outside. And I do have a heater, but it's a little loud, and I prefer not to have that on while I'm doing this. So it'll be nice to have a place that can hold its own heat a little bit long term. So um, that's going to be going on. I'll be nice and itchy from putting in at least fiberglass over top. Going to do something else on the walls though. Mineral wool. Apparently it's not as itchy, but it's much better sound deadening. So that's kind of exciting now that I'm back. Hopefully I'll be able to get back to being a little more consistent with my videos and everything, and whether they be Bengals or kind of topical videos or movie reviews and show reviews or discussions. I don't know. I don't like calling them reviews because I'm not Rotten Tomatoes or Siskel and Ebert or any of that stuff. But I do like talking about stuff, especially if it evokes a evokes a reaction. Definitely watched a few things that evoked a few reactions over the past week, so probably be doing something on them. All right, so let's adjust that just a little bit. There we go. Um, so let's talk about the first quarter. It is, it's been up and down. Definitely did not start off the way I think all of us as Bengals fans really wanted or were hoping for. But with just a little bit of context and hindsight, I would love to sit here and say that I'm still surprised. Um, I'm not very surprised because when you think about it, we had a 80%, 4 out of 5 linemen on the line are absolutely brand new to this team and each other. And line play requires reps. It requires getting to know each other, getting to know the man next to you, and knowing what he's going to do and what he's not going to do, and learning trust. Trust is hard. Confidence, where you don't have to think about what the guy next to you is going to do. You just do your job because you know the guy next to you's got their job locked down. And that takes time. Considering almost none of these guys played with each other, even in the preseason, I guess maybe they caught a handful of snaps in the Rams joint practice. When you look at game 1 and 2, it's not. I wish I could sit here and say I was shocked. I was shocked in the moment, but on hindsight, when the motions come down and you really get a chance to think about it, it's not as shocking. You know, um, and I do think that the line play, not that it rests entirely on their or at their feet, um, but it definitely had a it definitely played a major part in the results of those two games. They came down close to the wire, and the Bengals just couldn't get it done against the Steelers and the Jets. And of course, if woulda, coulda, shoulda, what if you're into that, it's always one of my favorite line of comics, the Marvel What If series. But what if Clark Harris didn't go down? Probably be 3-1. What if in Dallas game, what if this play went this way or this pass was caught versus dropped or whatever. Um, everybody says, "Oh, well, you could be 4-0," but we were that close, despite playing really not very good games the first 2 weeks. We really didn't play that well the first 2 weeks, and we were still in it right to the end because, let's be honest, if I'm gonna give out a gold star for the first quarter of the season, it goes to the entire damn defense. Defense was huge. Defense has been amazing. They have kept this team right in the games, and all the offense has to do is go out and do their job, which is all the defense can really do. Now, they didn't get a lot of turnovers early in the season, but they've been getting turnovers more lately, which shows that they're starting to gel a little bit and hitting their stride, which is really encouraging. Got a comment here. Hey, Travis. No run game equals no play action, which I think is Joe's comfort zone. Yeah. Yeah, I very much agree with that. And I'll get into that for sure. The run game is definitely on my to address list, or the lack thereof. Absolutely. Um, Um, so, but I do think the defense deserves a big round of applause, some pats on the back, and quite frankly, maybe the offense should be going out and taking them out for steak dinner for keeping them in the games uh, every single game this season. And honestly, let's be honest, the defense is picking up about right where they left off from last year. Um, I don't know what Anarumo's got in the sauce in that room. I don't know. I'll be honest. I wasn't so sure about Anarumo early on. In the first couple seasons of Taylor's tenure here. I but I don't know what it is, and maybe it is just having the right people. That maybe now he gets to play the defense the way he always wanted to play it, whereas before he had to kind of do with what he had. Maybe it's that. But last year and this year so far, defense is just absolutely killing it. And, maybe in a good way, defensive coaches aren't that desirable as head coaches anymore, which means we might be able to keep Lou Anarumo here. Just keep paying him and extending his contract and keep him nice and happy. That might be pie in the sky, but one can hope. So, so defense definitely deserves their kudos. I did not get a chance to watch the Jets game, which bothers me. But between the time difference, and I think it was in Ireland at the time. The time difference meant that we were out and about because it was a regular 1 o'clock game. So I didn't get a chance to watch that. I did follow it, followed the play-by-play and stuff like that as much as I could. And I was thrilled that they won, especially with how it went against the Jets last year. Let's be honest. That's that's nice to get that out of the way. To get them, and with Joe Flacco, you know, not that I think Joe Flacco is like a world beater, but sometimes you get those quarterbacks who know a team real well. Maybe they're on the backside of their career, but they know a team real well, and they show up and you know have one of those games where they play out of their mind. Can't do it 16, 17 games a year, but they can do it once in a while. So I was glad that that didn't happen. I mean, Flacco's pretty washed up, but you know, sometimes you see one of these guys and they just pop off. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick made a career of randomly amazing games. Um, all due respect to the man, he made a lot of money doing it. But so I was glad to see the Jets go down. I was glad to see the Bengals handle their business. From what I gathered, from what I could find out, and what I could see, um, it looked like, and what I perceived, following the play by play, was that was the first game where the line, I believe, started to click because we go from, if I remember correctly, 7 sacks against the Steelers. And of course, you got T.J. Watt over there, and you have a really, really good defensive front and linebacking core for Pittsburgh. So that's going to be, it's going to be a really, really long day at the office. And then you go to Dallas, and I know it's a running meme about all the quarterbacks with their heads popping in. Are y'all still them boys? But Dallas's defense is pretty legit, and another rough day at the office. So, um, and that's okay. That's it sucks, but that was 6 sacks if I remember correctly. And then we get to the Jets, and it's one. And then we get to the Dolphins, and it's 0. And what's funny to me, as a just a little aside, I've been I try to sample a lot of the national and local media, their takes, and just kind of see like, okay, this is what I took away from it, and did I miss something, or is somebody else talking about something that I think they're out of their mind or something, or maybe I'm the one that's out of my mind. Who knows? It's possible. Um, but you see, especially on the NFL Network and ESPN, and even Fox, FS1, not as much. Although I go out of my way to avoid Nick Wright. I quite frankly can't stand him. He's such a homer for Kansas City, and it's so blatant and so ridiculous. Um, at least most of the other talking heads, unless they played their entire career for a certain team, they're going to try to be, pretty straight about it as best they can. They're going to take their homer hat off as much as they can get it off of them. Whereas Nick Wright he just goes, I don't know. I think he just turns into a puddle of, melted jello or something every time, he sees Kansas City Chiefs red, or Mahomes, a still shot of Mahomes pop up on the screen. Oh God, he loses it. And he's such a homer for Kansas City. And don't get me wrong, Kansas City's a really good team. So it's not totally unfounded. It's not like, it's not like he's a diehard Texans fan acting like every year they're going to the Super Bowl, even though they're, what are they, 0-4? No, 0-3-1. I saw that. I'm sorry. As Bengals fans, we've been there. So, sorry, Texans, not this year. But I try to get a good feel for what others saw, and people who do this professionally, to see if there's something I missed, something I didn't catch. And what I did find that was notable to me, and I thought was almost laughable, is, people are talking about, the upcoming Bengals and Ravens game, okay, and who do they think's gonna win, and can the Bengals offense figure out, can they beat this Ravens defense? Can the Ravens offense figure out a way, or the kind of one-way matchups they like to talk about. And everybody keeps talking about, wow, that line has gotten Joe Burrow sacked 14, 16 times, whatever it is, right? So, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, his sack total is still rather high, but the first two games' performance and the second two games' performance are extraordinarily different. Like, you don't have to be a statistician to be able to look at those numbers and go, oh, something happened, something changed. Yeah, they weren't facing TJ Watt or, Micah Parsons. But that's still NFL caliber, and Dolphins have a really good defense. They may not have elite pass rushers or something like that, but they do have a really good defense overall. So why and you can tell some of these guys, it's why I kind of almost laugh and I don't really think too hard about it, and I don't get too fired up about, I don't know, somebody popping off and saying something kind of stupid, because you got to think about it. These guys don't watch every single game. And sometimes it's really obvious if you listen to them and you really hear what they're saying and you're like, wait a minute. That sounds like something you'd say if you only saw a stat sheet. Not if you actually watch the game. You watch the game, you get a very different feel. So that's why you won't hear me talk too heavily about the Jets game, other than what I could perceive and what I could take from it, watching play-by-play. You can get a little feel for it, but I'm still not seeing the players on the field. I'm not seeing how they're head held high, head down, the body language, and you don't get quite as good a feel of the game, I'll say, I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, oh, I knew that there was no chance Miami was going to win, but I'd say from about the middle of the third quarter, I felt like, ooh, I think the Bengals got this one. I think as long as there's no major turning point type moment, the Bengals have momentum and the edge, and the Dolphins seem like they're losing gas, like they're losing steam. And when they ended up pulling away a little bit more and they won the game, it was like, yeah, that's what I thought I was seeing. That's what I thought I was reading, watching the game. So, but that's why I don't waste too much time. I do think it's a little laughable sometimes, but sometimes these guys say things and it's like, you can just see these talking heads don't watch every single game, because, I mean, think about the amount of time that takes to watch every single game in depth on both teams, especially when you're talking about, and they're going to talk about the Bengals and the Ravens, but they're also going to talk about every other single matchup coming up this weekend. And I think they sample games. I think they try to pick and part, and they probably have packages put together where they can see like the maybe like the highlight plays, like the red zone, basically, or recorded red zone, of these games. But they're talking about, oh man, I don't know, Burrow's been sacked a lot this season. This line has been letting him get sacked. Like, yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. He's been pretty damn clean since. So you're not watching the games. I can tell. Um, yeah, Travis. Yeah. These guys on offense. Travis says these guys on offense didn't play in any in the preseason, so the first two games are basically kind of their preseason, and getting better as the season goes on, I believe, and that's 100% correct. They're gelling, and that's what I noticed the difference between the first two games versus the second two. You know, we can talk about maybe quality of opponents, but I I think it was really obvious when all of a sudden Burrow's not getting touched anywhere near as much as he was before. Very, very little. Um, and that's not only am I very happy about that, but that kind of tells me, oh, something's clicked, something's picked up. And whether it's something Frank Pollock has decided to have them stop trying to do or have them start trying to do, or just time and they gel. So, um, so you know, it one thing I will say I noted from the Jets game following along was when they needed to seal the game, and this is going to go back to something, Travis, if you're still on, this is something you said earlier. Samaje Perine was in, and somehow, now I'm sure that they had a tired Jets defense on the other side. They've been chipping away at them all game. Game's getting late, and they're down in the score. So they're gonna try to seal this one up, put it away. And what do? You usually try to run the ball a lot. Well, all of a sudden, Samaje Perine's in, and he's popping off 8 yards, and then 5, and then 8, and then 9 or 7, whatever. Big, pretty good sized chunks. I mean, he's not running away with the ball. He's not running off for 25 or 30, but we're talking about, you know, 1, 2 downs to get another to move the chains. Moving the chains on second, sometimes first down. I think he did have one that was good for first down, but should I say he was able to move the chains on first down. Um, and that was like, as I'm watching it on my phone, as it slowly, it's painless. It's painful watching it, but slowly watching those plays come in, and I'm like, oh, oh shit, they ran it again. Oh, so that's going to get into the discussion about the run. I believe that the run will sort itself out. Do I think it's going to happen this weekend? I don't know. I really hope so. It needs to. Even if it doesn't turn into an all-pro banner year for Mixon, whatever's going on, it does need to get sorted. Has Mixon been playing with a bum ankle? Some people say that. I don't know. Maybe. But what I have when I've been watching and I've been forcing myself to stay on the offensive line and not watching anything else, not letting my eyes float. Um, it looks like there's a lot of times where, and this could go back to the old being too predictable criticism that Taylor's been, had thrown his way more than a few times this year. Like virtually every time Burrow's under center, it's a run. If he's in the shotgun, it's a pass. And it's like really high percentages that back that up. That might be a little bit simplistic, by the way, but those are criticisms that have been out there. When I see a lot of times now, this will go back to the Dolphins game because that's the last one I saw where that's the only one I've seen that we've won so far. When I would watch Mixon, you could tell he was running to a place he was under the impression like that's where he's supposed to go. And there's just nothing except a wall of defenders and a line not opening a hole. A lot of people complained about the pitch and catch on 4th and 1. Well, I hate to say it, but if Lael Collins does his job and seals that block on the edge, Mixon goes through. Um, you know, and this is not to say that the line isn't trying their best, but it's almost like their pass blocking has come around faster, and they still have work to do on the run blocking side of things. And I hope they will. I think they will. I know, it's pretty well publicized, at least here locally. Mixon called a players only meeting, although I do think there might have been like a running back coach and Frank Pollock in the room. But he did call a players only meeting with him and the line, the entire O line, not just the starters, but the entire O line, to discuss what's going on and what are they seeing, what is he seeing, and what does he need to do, and what can they do differently to help him, and how can he help them, and things like that. All reports have been extraordinarily positive that it wasn't a pointing fingers type of thing. It was a, hey, let's all take a look at this and see what's going on so we can try to fix this as quick as possible. And whoever needs to do what, let's just get it done. Very problem solving oriented and not blame oriented, which that's good and mature, and I like that. So do I think that the run can get on track this Sunday? I don't know, because the other part of the problem is who they're going against. And the Ravens do actually have a fairly good line. Now, their secondary has good names, but so far this year, their secondary has been like one of the worst. They're allowing and this is what I heard. I haven't looked at this stat myself, but my understanding is they've been allowing somewhere in the range of like 300 yards a game. That's a lot. That's a lot of yards. So, I'm sure that Taylor will do what he normally does, which is will insist on at least going to the run from time to time at minimum to keep the defense honest and to keep them guessing a little bit, and maybe get to the point where they can catch them, where they can pop off a big one, unaware, unexpectedly, or something like that. I think that I would like to think that Joe Mixon does get a little on track. I don't know that it's going to be like a Pro Bowl type of day, but I do think that he can get on track. And they know the Ravens. They know the Ravens really, really well. I mean, that's division game. Division game speed is different than regular game speed, and of course, it's division. Excuse me, that's more, it's different than playoff speed. But considering they know the team really well, I think there's a chance that they can get at least enough going. Would be nice, let's be honest. I'd like to see Joe Mixon cross the line of scrimmage with the ball in his hand and maybe even get more than 2 yards before he gets hit and taken down. Maybe 4 or 5 yards. That'd be nice, right? If he could consistently get 4 or 5 yards, hey, baby steps, right? Because he's averaging just under 2 or just under 3 a carry right now, which is really not good. And I don't think it's wear and tear. I'm sure wear and tear is starting to pile up a little bit on him, but I don't think it's wear and tear. I don't think that he's worn out, washed up, or any of that crap. I just don't think so. But they do have to get right. So another big criticism from the first 4 games is Taylor's offensive play calling. Real quick. The P. Ryan versus Mixon thing, which didn't last very long. It was a big deal after the Jets game because of all those yards that P. Ryan racked up. And I do think that, it's a little easier maybe for P. Ryan to run because he's more of a, single cut and go type guy. Um, and he tends to run. I think he's a little bigger than Mixon. I'm not sure, but I think he's a little bigger, and he just runs a little. He can. He just runs a little harder, but he's also not nearly as dynamic. He's not nearly as athletic, and he has his uses and he has his qualities, but as a every down starting back, it's not really what you want. So I don't think we're going to be talking about that. And if we are, well, um, let's just say I hope not. I'd rather not have that conversation because I worry about all the rest that would come with that. If we're talking about P. Ryan being the starting back, like where are we at in the season, you know, and what is our outlook? Um, I would like to see Chris Evans start getting a little bit more time on the field. I don't know why he's almost never on the field this year. He got time on the field last year, some at least. I mean, he wasn't a feature back, but he would get legit time on the field. So I don't know why Chris Evans can't get some time. You know, so maybe we'll start seeing more of that at some point. That'd be nice. But Taylor's play calling. Um, One of the things that strikes me, and I know that there was a big, you know, I don't know if I would say it went viral, but it definitely got a lot of play. Was Chris Sims' rant on the Bengals and how basic and vanilla the offense looks. And once I heard him say that, I'm like, okay, that's what I've been wondering. That's it, sometimes you hear someone say something and it helps you click the thought that's been bouncing around that you can't quite put it all together yourself. Um, and I really noticed that watching the Dolphins game. And if you really watch the Dolphins, even when Teddy Bridgewater went in, nothing changed. Like that was the most amazing part about it is that nothing changed when Bridgewater went in as far as their pre-snap motions and some of the play calling and the way they did things. They would move the pocket around, they'd roll the pocket, they'd have some naked boots, they'd do certain things to move things around so that basically, the defense can't just point to a specific spot on the field, X number of yards directly behind center and go, let's all meet there because that's where he's going to be. If that makes sense. And I wonder is there a reason why Taylor's play calling has been fairly vanilla this year compared to last year? Last year, I'm not saying it was the most dynamic thing I've ever seen in my life, but it was pretty good, and it was inventive, and every now and then there'd be a wrinkle. And Taylor's, so far as I can tell, seems like the kind of guy who um has his trump cards or his trick plays up his sleeve, and doesn't like to bring them out very often until it's necessary. Um, I guess we did see on the Dolphins game we saw I think it was Boyd. Boyd threw a pass to Higgins, if I remember correctly. I was getting something to drink, and so I was kind of like trying to watch while also trying not to spill, not to spill my drink, coming back from the kitchen. And you know, those are in there, but it's like I'm not saying become a trick play offense because that's not sustainable. But you know, something Chris Sims said, which was they just kind of line up and my guys are going to beat your guys. And there's a little bit of truth to what he's saying. I think it's a little simplistic. Of course, he played NFL quarterback. I just watch it. So maybe, he's probably right, to be honest. At least a heck of a lot more right than I am. But I would like to see just a little more motion and a little more inventiveness in the plays as opposed to Burrow gets snapped the ball or Burrow takes the ball from center, does his drop, gets into position, and just stands there and tries to deliver. Let's do a little bit something that wrinkles it up a little bit and throws off the defensive timing a little bit, moves the pocket a little bit, gets Burrow outside of the pocket or at least rolls it towards a direction so that he still has some protection and can maybe take those big shots downfield because with the cover two, the intermediate stuff is where you can really make your hay. And that's great, but this team really wants to take those big hits, those big shots. And so that usually requires a play to evolve in a little bit longer time frame. And so instead of just taking a pure 7-step drop, sometimes what you can do is you can move the quarterback, plan to move the quarterback in a certain direction, roll the pocket a certain way, use a little misdirection, something like that, maybe a, fake, play action handoff, and then, take your big hit, take your big swing. I don't expect to see those often, but just a little bit of inventiveness, just a little bit of making the defense guess what the hell are they about to do. They're already rightfully very aware of the task they have at hand, managing Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Hurst, who I'll get back to him in a minute. Love that guy. Ah. This episode of Stripe Stream brought to you by Amazon Air. Thank you for flying over again. I almost missed you. So, and mixing when things are right, that's a lot of people. And, not to mention Burrow, your quarterback, your delivery man. That's a lot to manage. That's a lot to handle. And if you can just put just a little bit more doubt in their brain about what the hell are these guys about to do, when you think, you have to be a little slower. You have to pause. You have to, whereas you can just play instinctively, that's a little different. But if you can put a little doubt in their mind, might slow them down about a quarter second, half second, and that can be the difference. So, I'm hoping to see just sometimes you can get too cute with your play calling, but just a little bit more, I don't know, inventiveness, just a smidge of juice, just that little squeeze of lemon on your fish and chips. Sorry, I had a lot of fish and chips over in Dublin. Hayden Hurst. Let's talk about him for a second. So while his stats don't blow up, that guy, I want to see him catch at least 3 balls a game just to watch him after he's caught it and he gets tackled or goes down. I just want to watch. I just want to see him like lose his shit. And he is just so jacked up. And I love it. That man is so fired up. And I did see the brief little interview where he's talking about how he feels like he finally found a home. Which I can imagine, for a guy who was supposed to be the man in Baltimore, and then Mark Andrews gets drafted, and Mark Andrews is Mark Andrews. He's a legit, number 1 tight end type guy. And then he gets traded to the Falcons. And he is kind of the man there, although admittedly not in a great season. But he's kind of the man there, and then they draft Kyle Pitts because Kyle Pitts is there, and then he gets relegated back to number 2, and so I'm really happy for him. And when they said that Uzomah was going to leave, and which that stung, admittedly, just because Uzomah's a really likable guy, he's a real good locker presence. He's you can tell he's just he gets along with the players. He's a good chemistry type of guy. Contributes a lot of good chemistry to the room. So I hated seeing him leave, but I understood it. He got more money elsewhere, whether it was a lot more, a little more, doesn't matter. That's apparently that was, people got to make their decisions. And when they announced they were signing Hayden Hurst, my first thought was, who? Admittedly, it was who? Hayden who? Okay. Start clacking away on the keyboard and try to figure out who the hell this guy is. And then I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then, of course, everybody and their brother starts talking about who he is and, his relatively brief history in the NFL, all that stuff. And I thought, okay, this guy might really work. This guy might actually fit even better than Uzama did, because Uzama was probably a little better all around, but not nearly as good at any one thing. Whereas Hurst is definitely, I mean, he can chip a rusher briefly, but he's not a blocker. But he is a really, really good pass catching tight end. From an athleticism standpoint, he's off the charts. He's really good. And so far as I can tell, when that boy don't want to go down, it seems like it usually takes a lot more than one guy to bring him down. He's got some kind of a just a different kind of fire. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if he's got some Viking or some Scottish Highlander in him, but man, he plays angry, and I am 100% here for it, and I just can't wait to watch it happen again. Um, but let's not overlook the fact that he's playing against his old team. I don't know if he feels quite as wronged by them as he did by the Falcons, but he is playing against his old team, and uh, most players tend to look forward to those games just a little more. And so I wonder if there's going to be some Hurst, because a lot of people think that Baltimore's going to run, cover two, which takes away a lot of the big plays. And I wonder if Burrow is ready to just, that's fine, do the old Tom Brady kill you by a thousand paper cuts. Perfectly fine. We're just going to shred the middle of the field all damn day until you change your coverage, and as soon as you do, we're going to attack that. I wonder if that's the plan. And if it is, you could see a lot of Boyd, Hurst, and Mixon in those intermediate routes. Ah. They're back. God, it sounds like they're about to land on my roof. I swear. I'm not that close to the airport. I swear to God I'm not. But ever since Amazon did their thing here and built like I don't know, doubled the size of the airport, at least not the public size, but the actual size. Especially at night. Boy, they love to run those planes at night. Not during the day as much. But so I have really enjoyed watching Hurst. He has been a pleasant, I don't want to say surprise, but a pleasant addition to the team. He may not make, 15 catches in a game, at least not so far. But it's like it doesn't matter if he made one catch or three catches. Dude is jacked every time that ball touches his hands. Every time it's an express delivery from Joe Burrow, he's just like, just absolutely out of his mind, just pumped about it. So, um, special teams, first four games, other than the first game, which is more, because of injury, Evan McPherson's been money. Kevin Huber, been pretty damn good, actually. A lot of us, rightfully wondered. They're looking at this Drew Chrisman kid. Is Kevin washed up? Is he used up? Is he out of gas? And I do still think that there's a potential that I would like to see Kevin play the entire season, especially if the season ends in Arizona for the Super Bowl. But I do wonder if there's a reason why they still have Chrisman. I mean, they had Cal Adamitis on the practice squad for a reason, and they've still got Chrisman on the squad. And I just wonder if it becomes obvious that Huber's out of gas or his leg is shot by mid-season, quarter season, end of the season. They just activate Chrisman and go from there. But really, I wonder if I can get them to give me a sponsorship or something for doing this. With their live flyovers. Pretty sure they won't. So, The only problem with Chrisman is that, and I guess the reason why they gave the nod to Huber was because Huber has that accuracy. He may not have quite the leg he used to, but he can pretty accurately down it within the opponent's 10 or 5 if he's close enough. Whereas Chrisman, punt a hell of a ball, but not exactly, not quite the pinpoint accuracy that Huber had. Let's see here. Um, but overall, I mean, special teams have been pretty good. Punt and kick coverages have been pretty good. Evan McPherson basically seems like he's being told, like, blast it out the back of the end zone. We're not going to let them do, you know, kick returns. So that's been fine. Okay, so I'm trying to think real quick before I move on. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything from earlier this year because the sacks are down. First 2 games versus second 2 games, very different story, and that's pretty obvious. Run game hasn't come around yet. I think it will, but you know, time will tell. But I mean, he has, they have legitimately good line, and Cordell Volson, while he has had his obvious warts as a rookie, I gotta say he's starting to fill in those shoes pretty good. I mean, he's starting to own that role pretty well. I mean, is he ever going to be, is he going to be a future Hall of Famer at left guard? I don't know about that. Is he ever going to be a Pro Bowler at left guard? Maybe. Kid has the work ethic. I mean, he's just got that grinder type nature. He's obviously working on it. He's obviously working hard to get better. And he's young and he's soaking it up and he's got a good group of veterans around him to help him, show him. And he's got, Frank Pollock, who, I'm sure will spend every minute he's legally allowed to spend with him per NFL guidelines. Um, so overall, it didn't start out as a positive, but it's moving in a good direction. Let's call it progress, good progress. Defense has been really good, and other than DJ Reader being out, which I felt it a little bit in the Dolphins game, but it seemed like they had a plan to minimize his lack of, him not being on the field. I didn't feel like it was major, but it did feel like it was like, okay, I can tell they're missing someone they're used to having there. I know he's going to be back soon, but between BJ Hill and Josh Tupou and I don't know if Zach Carter played any snaps against the Dolphins. That'll be interesting to see. I can't remember if he got on the field or not. But they do have, they have depth there. Is it elite depth? No, because that's not what you usually have for depth. You don't have elite players sitting behind elite players. You have elite players, and then you have players who, well, there's a reason why they're second or third string because they're not as good as your starters. But can they come in and fill the gap, plug the hole, hold down the fort? Another, pithy little saying I can come up with. Yeah, they seem to, at least against the Dolphins. We'll see what they do against the Ravens. Of course, that presents a little bit of a different challenge because Tua and Bridgewater are not really running quarterbacks. I mean, they have some mobility. They're decent athletes, but they're not Lamar Jackson. And but the defense has been good. Offense has shown signs of improvement overall. Their effectiveness in the pass has definitely gotten better. Effectiveness in the run still needs work, right? So let's see here. Okay, let's get into the last part. Um, we got the Ravens game coming up here on Sunday Night Football, and it's gonna be my gut feeling. I had it right with I had it right with the Steelers. I had it wrong with the Cowboys. I actually thought the Cowboys was going to be a get right game for the Bengals, and let's just say I was a little premature on the get right game. Um, but this is a division game. They're all almost always grinders. This whole absolutely spanking the Ravens last year twice, that just doesn't happen very often. I don't. I I believe the Bengals are going to win this game, and my reasoning: if everybody plays more or less the way they've been, let's just say everybody stays static for about a week. The Ravens secondary is not very good right now, statistically speaking. They might be individually good players, but they're not statistically as a unit very good. They're letting they're giving up an extraordinary amount of yardage. Um, and I believe the Bengals are going to come out and they're going to exploit because we don't have Wink Martindale here to give Jamar Chase and Burrow a whole lot of bulletin board material. Um, I do believe that they will come out, and if they have to attack the middle of the field all night long, they'll do it. If they, again, cheers. Ooh, that would be a hell of a drinking game. Take a drink every time Amazon Air flies over my partially converted Way of the Dad. Wait, let me work this one out. Way of the Dad, partially converted Shed Studios. Yeah, that sounds good. But yeah, we could always do a drinking game, and you have to take a drink every time Amazon Air flies over. No, Travis. Bengals outscored the Ravens 82 to 37 last year. And it was glorious. And it was glorious. It really was. Um, I think me and my buddy Dave, we got a little extra drunk um, watching those games because it was just like you could just tell, like this thing is over in like middle of the second quarter. I was like, oh my god, we are just throttling these guys both times almost. I don't remember the first game quite as well as the second game, um, but we throttled them both times. So, but this time, this is a new year, and I don't think the Ravens for even 1 second have forgotten about this. Lamar Jackson didn't all of a sudden become a bad player. Unfortunately, or fortunately, or however you want to term it. If I remember correctly, Lamar was not in the second game. He was hurt. They had a lot of injuries pile up, and I'm not going to give them any excuses because we never get excuses for injuries, and injuries are part of the NFL. But they're healthy right now, and I'm sure they remember it. Um, and it's because it's in division, it's rivalry. They hate us, we hate them, and you know whether it's T.J. Hushmanzada wiping his feet with the wiping his cleats with the terrible towel, or you know Burrow sticking it to him and throwing an extra 30 or 40-yard bomb to Joe Mixon just to get over 500 yards or whatever it was, just to stick it to the Ravens a little harder. Um, you know, Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's in division. Every little slight goes on the bulletin board in every single one of these AFC North locker rooms. Every single slight. And that's what makes these games more notable than usual, than your standard just regular game. There we go, Amazon. Anyway, I think this game will be a little tougher, though. I don't think this will be the big blowout, but I do think the Bengals will win it simply because Bengals D is really good. Their offense is pretty good. Those two match up, it should match up fairly well. I do perceive that the Ravens will probably be able to make some hay on offense pretty early because Anarumo's defenses tend to tighten up as the game goes on. They get better, and they slowly take away, like, okay, this is what you're doing. Okay, we're gonna take that away, and they slowly just keep tightening the vice grip more and more and more. But I think the Bengals' offense is significantly better than at least the secondary of the Ravens, which is probably where they're going to try to attack. They're going to try to run some, sure. They've consistently done that, even if it's not working at all. And I understand why, because you cannot, even if your run game is not working at all, you cannot absolutely 100% abandon it, because then the defense just knows, pin your ears back, and attack. And you can't do that. You have to at least try to keep them honest enough, because even if a run play doesn't really do much, it forces the defense to remember to cover the run. Because the moment they don't, no matter how good they are at the run, the moment they don't cover a run, a run play, well, then now you have a running back running off for 25, 30 yards. And that's bad. So I do think that it'll be a little bit of a closer game, but I do think the Bengals win, and I'm going to give it a field goal. I'm going to give it a field goal because it's division, and division, matchup blowouts are rare. They're not very common, especially in the AFC North. I mean, come on. All these teams absolutely despise each other. Rightfully so. So I do think that the Bengals will win. I 27-24, maybe. I want it to be like 41-17. That would be beautiful. And I will go to sleep a very, very happy man. Tired and bleary-eyed for work the next day, but I don't care. I'll be happy. I'd love to see like a 41-17 blowout and just rubbing their noses in it. That'd be beautiful. But I think the Bengals eke this one out, whether by a field goal or a touchdown. I feel like they win it. And they win it enough to get the victory, get the 1-game lead, put another win in the W column, but also get the division lead. Would they be in the lead in the division? I know they'd be lead by, not by tiebreaker, but by straight up. But that would put them at 1-1 in the division. And standings. Let's see here. Okay. So division, Steelers are 1-1. Ravens are 0-0. So they haven't played a game in division yet. So at best they could be 1-0 or 0-1. Bengals could be 1-1. Browns are 1-0 in the division. Okay, interesting. So if the Browns lose and we beat the Ravens, then we'd be in the lead in the division just by sheer record alone. We get down to tiebreakers, it might be a little different. But and wasn't it glorious? Wasn't last weekend just absolutely Just beautiful. Watching the Bengals beat the Dolphins, and then and I think it was even before. I think all 3 games before that were already decided. The Browns lost by 3. The Ravens lost by 3 in pretty bad fashion. And actually, I think both the Falcons and the Bills came back on the Browns and the Ravens to win the games. Last second field goal, something or other like that. And then Steelers lost by 4. Of course, Kenny Pickett got his first start, or well, got not his first start, but got his first time under center in a real game and proceeded to throw 3 picks, which it's going to be easy for me to sit here and point and laugh, but let's be honest, kid was thrown in a bad situation. Not that I feel bad for him, but I don't expect him to continue to throw 3 picks a game. But I would be just absolutely, I mean, like this would be like an early Christmas present come true if Kenny Pickett is the second coming of Tommy Maddox. One can only hope and dream. My favorite Steelers era is the Tommy Maddox era. That's just my favorite time as a Bengals fan for the Steelers. It's just I just love the Tommy Maddox era. It's just really need to revisit that, throwing picks left and right, stunningly average at quarterback. Just it's just so beautiful. And I think we really need more of it. That's so bad, hoping for a kid to be absolutely terrible. But he got drafted by the Steelers, so sorry. Not sorry. So I am excited. I'm excited to watch, and I'm going to do this one small little extra bit because this is something for years. I don't know about everybody else, but for me as a Bengal fan, and generally speaking, my buddy Dave, me and him are similar wavelength as far as fans. I would be so nervous knowing that the Bengals were going to be on in any form of prime time, Thursday night, Sunday night. God help us if somebody was, smoking crack and put us on Monday Night Football. When we had Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton. And I'm betting almost all of you who hear this know exactly what I'm talking about. That was terrifying. That's the shit of nightmares right there. Because we all know. What was the common thing? If Andy can just step up in the big lights and not get scared. I even made a meme. I'm gonna have to dig this meme up and put it in this. Well, I don't know if I'll put it in this. This is like the highlights. This background here is like pictures I like. Good pictures. But at one of these points, I'm gonna figure out how to post it. I probably post it on the damn Facebook page or something. But I had a meme that I created because I was so infuriated with Dalton. And it was basically, if anybody knows the Gremlins movies, you don't don't expose them to bright light. And I kind of did that, and Andy Dalton in the same picture, kind of thing. And bright light, because he had, just so frustrating watching him sit here and just, he could sometimes show up and just light a team up at 1:00. God help us if it was on at 8:30 or 8:05 or 8:15 or whatever the hell it is. It's absolutely infuriating. And now, here we are. We're on Sunday Night Football. And I'm like, yes. Yeah, let's go. Because Burrow and this team and Taylor and the coaching staff, they all seem to all step up. Like they all know, like they seem to rise to the occasion naturally. Like the bigger the lights, the bigger the stakes, the better they get. So I'm excited. We're on Sunday Night Football against the Ravens, which is one of the teams we have got to get out of the way to get back to the AFC Championship game and to get back to the Super Bowl. That's fine, especially in division. If we can put them out early, amen, I'm all for it. And, I know some people who still feel kind of that, they still have that kind of that old feeling that I used to feel under the Dalton and Lewis years. And I understand why you feel that way, but I would tell you, I think you feel that way out of habit. And Burrow ain't that. Taylor ain't Lewis, and Burrow ain't Dalton. I'm not saying everything's perfect. I'm not saying nothing can go wrong. I'm not saying they won't make mistakes. But this team and this coaching staff seems to know how to learn from their mistakes and adapt and make progress and fix small things, and fix errors. So I'm all for it. And that is the last of the bourbon. It's also kind of sad, right? So that'll do it for today. I hope everybody has a really good weekend. Like I said, I am going to probably be pretty damn itchy. I've got to take so much stuff out of this place. And I will say this is better than doing it from my garage. Because even though I have insulated doors in my garage, and I have a way to keep my garage fairly warm, I hear every single footstep. And this microphone, God bless it, it is a good microphone, picks up every damn noise. I don't know how long I'll stick with this microphone. I might end up going to a shotgun mic maybe eventually, because they only pick up what they're pointed at. They don't pick up surrounding noise. But I really like this microphone. It sounds good. It picks up my voice really well. Problem is it picks up everything else. So we'll see. But I'm gonna put down some change. Not a lot. I'm trying to do it smartly on a budget as best I can, but I'm gonna spend the money where it counts, I guess. And I'm gonna insulate this puppy up, get some wall coverings, and I'm gonna get back to, or get closer to, my goal of having a legit background behind me. I think I found what I want behind me, and then I've got a lot of shelf swag. Something, I don't know what the hell you want to call that. I got stuff to put on a shelf behind me and things like that that can kind of, liven it up a little bit. Got some LED lighting, things like that. This camera I'm using is pretty good for now, but we'll see. I don't know if I'll continue to use this primarily, or if I will invest in something that has a little bit more of a wide angle, or I don't know. This camera's not bad for now. It's definitely, if it's a concern of mine, it's got to be about the bottom of my list of concerns right now, as far as growing this thing. But overall, I'm really happy with this, and I'm enjoying the heck out of these live streams. Except for that, well, there's a drop. Cheers. Um, cheers, Amazon. Like a dumbass. Anyway, so hoping to get some good progress on that this weekend, and then I've got a few. Well, I'll probably record both together, maybe split it up later or something like that. But I'm going to talk about a couple MCU movies that I've seen recently that I've been avoiding for a long damn time. So, but let's just say they did evoke a reaction, which is, you know, something. So hopefully I'll be doing those sometime this week. And I'm getting the hang of the video editing, although I am trying to keep it really basic. I'm not here to put on a Hollywood level production. I'm sorry, I don't have the time for that. I don't have an editor. This is This is the production, all just me. So I do have to watch my time investment right now. Um, but all that being said, um, I'll be back soon. So please, 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 if you would subscribe to the channel here on YouTube and make sure you hit that notification bell so you do get notifications when I try to give as much head notice as possible when I'm going to live stream. Sometimes I get the ability to kind of plan this out a little bit more ahead of time. Sometimes I don't. It's kind of last minute. I would like to get more consistent with it. Maybe have a standard night where I just always live stream. And eventually wouldn't mind having some people on with me. You know, it's more dynamic when I'm not talking, you know, to you directly, you know, just myself. So that wouldn't be bad. Although I'd have to figure out how to do that too. So, so yeah, please subscribe, share, if you like this, you know, please share. And if you have comments, drop comments on these videos. I will respond to them. Unless they're extraordinarily, well, no, I'll probably still respond to them. Unless they're spam. If they're spam, well, yeah, I'm not going to respond to that. Just delete it. But I'll respond to comments. I don't care right now. I don't live my life on social media. And, you know, if you come on and say, you know, Scott, I think you're the dumbest human being who's ever talked about football in the history of the world. Okay. Cool, dude. Or dudette. You know, whatever. Um, but, you know, I'm just trying to get better at this. And seems like I've got the stream kind of more or less figured out, which is nice. So, that'll about do it for today or tonight. I hope you all have a really good weekend. And I hope we're talking about, I might do a short. I might try to do a short after the game on Sunday. And I sure hope I'm in a good mood on that short, you know? So until next time, take care and have a great day and a great weekend.